Welcome to Filling You In, a dental podcast with A Squared, where dentist entrepreneurs and spouses, Dr. Anushka Gaglani and Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj, welcome industry experts and innovators to explore trends in business practices, patient care, career development, and what it takes to be successful in dentistry.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Filling You In. I'm Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj.
And I'm Dr. Anushka Gaglani, collectively known as A Squared. Practically all of our previous guests have mentioned culture as an important ingredient in building successful dental practices and practice groups. But today we're going to take a deep dive into what that means, how it's created, and how it works. Our guide is Josie Sewell, a trailblazer in the dental industry, known for her dynamic leadership and for creating the dental operating system to help practices grow through vision, values, and scalable systems.
With extensive experience in operations and leadership, Josie has led over 300 executive strategy sessions with teams across the country in which she emphasizes a human-centered approach in business, focusing on team experience and holistic practices. Josie, thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time.
I am so glad to see you both and to catch up. I've missed seeing you, and it's such an honor to be on the podcast. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you stand for and love the way that you're elevating the industry.
Oh, we really appreciate that. Those are kind words.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot from you. We'd like to dive in. Before we learn a little bit more about the work you're doing now, let's go back and find out what actually got you started in the dental field and what were some of your career highlights that you've gotten along the way.
Yeah, I wish that I could say that I picked dentistry or dental hygiene for a really noble cause, like that I just loved teeth or loved going to the dentist, but it was actually just a very practical approach. I was already married, I was already a mom, but I knew that I wanted to go to college. I knew that I wanted to be in healthcare. And so it was a program offered at the community college that I went to. I was raised by two nurses and I didn't want to work nights, weekends, or holidays. And so it was a very practical choice, but then I fell in love with dentistry and I fell in love with what we do and the opportunity that we have to really impact health. And then, so the first part of my career was clinical and also allowed me to be at home when I had children and different things like that. And so, about the time that my oldest son turned 13, he has very severe autism and a couple of autoimmune conditions. It was getting really hard for me to take care of him. And so, at that point, my husband and I just did like a major shift in our life, and I became the breadwinner for our family, and he became a stay-at-home dad. So I got into consulting, and that was a really great experience. That's where I like really learned the business of dentistry. While I was at this consulting company is where I met Dr. Eric Roman, and he and I hit it off, and I just really loved his vision and passion in the group that he was building. And so went from the consulting company into a dental group. And so had the experience of being a director of hygiene, then the director of culture or people, and the director of operations and COO. We took that to market, and that was a great experience. And then after that, I moved to Utah, worked at Dental Intel for a little bit, but COVID shut everything down. And during COVID is when a lot of dental practices started reaching out to me looking for coaching. So for the last 5 years, I did do EOS implementation for a little bit, but then changed and do more dental specific type of strategic planning, building vision and values and things like that. So it's been a really incredible ride, I would say. But, it started with how can I take care of my family? And thankfully, at this point, I've been able to combine what I love and I'm passionate about with also what I'm really good at.
What a
No,
go-getter.
definitely. And, for those who don't know, Josie actually was our EOS implementer for a little while there. So that was a really great experience. I think you have a
100%.
really, really a passion for it, Josie, as well as a true talent for it.
Good,
Thank you
really
so
good
much.
and a good grasp on the business.
100%.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was really fun to work together.
Yes.
So Josie, when did you start focusing on the importance of the work environment and having a positive team culture?
I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but it's like we become who we really needed.
Mm.
And I think that that is probably very true for my path. I had an experience, where it was a very toxic, manipulative work environment. And I felt what that did and how that bled over to my personal life. And I felt like, I literally being in a difficult work environment, it led me to clinical depression. And I am somebody who actually is really resilient in the face of trials and challenges. I had a very difficult teenage life. My dad passed away when I was 16. My mom struggled with addiction. I've been on my own since I was 17. And I felt like I was really good at navigating tough challenges, but I found myself in a really difficult work environment and it drained the color from my life. And then going from that to then working, with Eric at the dental group, and I found myself in a healthy environment where my contributions were valued and I was respected as a person and recognized how different I felt and how different my life outcomes were when I was in a healthy environment. So that's really experiencing the black and white, so to speak, the opposite, really helped me understand and develop my passion for team health and my passion for good leadership. I would also say that, growing up in the executive world, I often, when I met other female leaders, they often had to like almost act more like men to get into their leadership positions where they might be really cold or really tough or almost like without feeling. And I just desperately wanted to find female leaders who also could lead with more emotion or more softness, while also recognizing the contributions of people as human beings. And so trying to like carve that space out and be that leader myself and make a place where other female leaders felt like, hey, it's okay for me to be a woman and to be emotional, or maybe sometimes I cry at work. And that's okay, because I do think there's a difference in, female leadership versus male leadership. And I believe we need both.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great
Yeah.
points. Speaking of leadership and team health, you've talked about creating an environment of high love and high accountability. How does that how do you make that a reality in a practice? And I think our audience would be they would benefit from knowing what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's almost like we believe in some ways that it has to be one or the other, that I have to like love my employees or I have to hold them accountable. And so, how can we allow space where both of those things are true? And what I mean by high love is that we value human beings because they're human beings, right? No matter what title is that they have, no matter where they sit on the org chart, can we give thanks for who they are as people and respect their contributions as people? And then the high accountability is, are we setting really clear expectations? Are we using metrics in an appropriate way? How can we pull together both of those things? I often think about when I was in high school, I was on a competitive cheerleading team, and my coach was Linda. And Linda, I knew that she loved me. I knew that she cared for me as a person, but she also called me out when I was like being lazy. She called me out when I was maybe being like too chatty or doing different things. And so I just love that experience. And I think that we can lean into that experience as leaders. I truly believe that leadership is service, not pleasing them, right? But leadership truly is service. How can we help somebody see and reach their potential? How can we set good boundaries to say, this is what I expect of you, right? And when you're not meeting those expectations, we're going to talk about it early. We're going to talk about it often. We're going to get you to the point where you're meeting expectations. And if we can't meet those expectations, how do we part still with dignity and love and respect?
I love that. That's such a good point, because sometimes it just doesn't work out, right? And I'm definitely going to lean into my inner Linda.
Yes, that's
on.
right. That's right.
So Josie, you've said that having happy dental associates is a key building block. Why?
No matter where an associate dentist is and whether they own any part of the business or not, they are seen as leaders in the practice. The patients see them as leaders. The team sees them as leaders. And so I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so we can't pretend that associate dentists are not leaders. They really are leaders, and they're highly skilled, they're highly educated, they're highly intelligent, but they may not see themselves as leaders, is the first thing, right? So how can we help them see and embrace themselves as leaders and give them the right skills? Because when we have doctors who are happy with what they're doing, they feel supported, people are looking to them to leaders, then it's going to trickle down. I've yet to meet a practice or a group where everybody else is happy but the doctors, right? And so it's like we have to help them be happy and satisfied. That doesn't mean that you have to give everybody what they want, because sometimes their demands might not be realistic, but when they are happy, it's just such this trickle effect to the team and to the patients.
I think you're preaching to the choir. Absolutely. We completely agree with that. In fact, we have an associate who, when he first started with us, he had this comment. He had a question, actually, I should say. He goes, I'm struggling with determining whether when I'm in the practice, should I be cool with the staff? Should I be their friend? Or am I supposed to be like holding them accountable? And we told him, we're like, Doc, the reality is, as much as you think that you can be buddy-buddy with everyone, they're actually looking at you as a leader. They're looking at you as though you're on a pedestal. You are not better just because you're a doctor. I want to be clear about that. But they are looking to you as a leader. And just yesterday, we had a convo with 2 of our doctors, same thing. Can't point fingers. You are a leader in the practice, and everyone's looking at you that way. So it's such great points that you just brought up.
And leadership often, right, Josie, you know this, better as much as we do, that sometimes when we say leadership to the doctors, it can be confusing to them. They're like, oh, am I supposed to go and discipline team members? We're like, that's not what we're talking about. Go and own the room. That means being directional with your patients, telling them what they need, what needs to get done, and telling your dental assistant, hey, here's what I need from you, and being specific, right? Just breaking that down to your point, that really resonated with me. So thanks for saying that.
Absolutely. And it's like people want to be led, right? Like you see that when you have a strong, decisive leader who also respects the contributions of others, it brings a practice to life that is energetic. And so helping them understand that. And I think a lot of associates in particular, they're not sure how to lead from the middle, right? How do I lead from the middle? I'm not disciplining people, or maybe I'm not hiring or firing them, but they do look to me. So what are the skills I need to lead from the middle?
Right on. Josie, we're curious, how do you help managers and associates work better together?
This is one of those things that it's always like a little bit of that awkward conversation. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've helped build an org chart or an accountability chart. And it's always like, where does the office manager sit, and where does the doctor sit, and how does this work, and what does this mean? And sometimes, especially with dental groups, there can be, it's either a contentious relationship or it's a really powerful partnership. So I think that getting really clear, what are the roles and responsibilities of the operations manager or the office manager? What are the roles and responsibilities of the doctor? And so sometimes making sure that they know that what their roles are, and then how do we work together? And so sometimes, just like it is with any of our other team members, what is our regular cadence of meeting together? What are your strengths and how do you operate? What are the outcomes that we're trying to get to? And the truth is, many managers and doctors, they want the same thing, but they're going about it differently. And so helping them like find ways that they can talk about things and work together. And again, sometimes it seems so simple, but it's like, are they meeting together on a regular cadence? Do they have an agenda? Do they know how to solve problems together as a group, right? Do we know how to clarify the issue, discuss it, and solve it? What are our next steps? Sometimes it's really simple tools to help them come together, but a lot of the difference in how we're going about things is often related to the schedule, and it's related to productivity. And so how can we talk about those things? And for managers, I would say sometimes we have to know who our customer is. And as managers, our customers, our team, and that means our doctors too. And so doctors, sometimes they're very easy customers. They want a busy schedule. They want a trained team, right? They want their equipment to work, but sometimes they're difficult customers. And so how do we navigate those nuances and work together? And then when things aren't going well, how do we escalate it? Who do we talk to? How do we work through that? So it's a very nuanced relationship, but when it's seen as a partnership, it can be really powerful.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that the 2 of us have understood over time is when we were full-time practicing clinicians, our customer was the patient, but that's completely transitioned. And we agree with you on that point that our customer is now the doctor. And we tell our teams, you have 2 customers. It's the doctor and the patient. You're here to serve both.
Yeah.
So completely agree with that. So Josie, you also created a leadership program for clinical directors and have trained with hundreds of leaders to lead with empathy and efficiency. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Eric Roman and I have partnered back up together, and we've taken a look at our experience over the last 5 years and said, have we done any good in the world, right? Have we made an impact? And now knowing what we know, how can we help people? How can we truly help the industry? And what we have found is that many dental groups and DSOs are really struggling, and they're struggling with some really fundamental systems. And so, but one of those things that they're struggling with is with the associate doctors, right? And so the associate doctors, there's often this like overpromise and underdeliver is their experience in working with dental groups. And so, how can we go in and really support associates? We have one program that does that. But in launching that, what we found is that everybody that we talk to is like, hey, I'd really love, for you to train my associates, but can you help me be a better leader? Because I find that, working with doctors is really hard. And I've seen that myself. I saw it personally, when Eric and I were in the dental group, he was an incredible CEO. He was decisive. He was kind. He listened. He understood. He helped us creatively solve problems. And as his executive team, he was, again, very loving and very direct. But when it came to him interacting with his doctors, I saw him crumble a little bit, right? Or it was really, really tough. So I watched that personally. And then as I started coaching others, I saw the same thing. When I'm helping people build org charts, there's always the seat for the clinical director. And I've never had anybody like enthusiastically say, I want that seat. I love that seat. I want to lead the dentists. That's often the one that people are like, oh my gosh, as soon as I can get that seat off my plate, I would be so happy.
100%.
100%, right? We've been there. And so we got really curious. Why is that? Why is this dentist to dentist relationship? Why does it feel hard? Why is it difficult? Why does nobody really excited about it? And it's tough because in many ways, you're a dentist, they're a dentist, you feel like peers, but also you're their boss, right? Or their manager. And how do I manage somebody who's a doctor? Do I have to manage somebody that's a doctor? And so what we've done is we've created this, method, if you will, that it's like, what are the 6 pillars of things that you need to have and the systems that you need to put in place so that you can really take good care of your associate dentists, so you feel really confident and competent leading other doctors? And how can we make this so that it's not just one person's job, but it's everybody's job? Because again, when doctors are happy, they represent 70% of the revenue. When they're happy, the group is scalable, right? And the group can continue to grow. And so that is a problem that we've really wanted to lean in and solve, is how can we provide critical training for associates, but how can we help the clinical directors or leaders that are over the dentist feel really excited about that job?
Hmm. I'm going to take a second here to be very open and honest. I'm clinical
Yeah.
director, and I felt like you were saying everything that I've been thinking, which is, I think where it stems from is, look, the majority of our doctors are great, but the couple that are negative, my goodness, it is soul sucking. And just like with patients, right? Once in a while you have that one that just makes you cringe. And you just kind of are like, forget it all. I don't want to even be in this this role.
Yeah.
I think I need to come to this event that you're hosting for sure.
I would love to have you.
No, you're so spot on. Josie, speaking of you hit on that topic a little bit about DSOs. Some of them are failing their doctors or groups for that matter. And I know you have some concerns about that. What's your analysis of like why that really happens? Where's the disconnect stemming from?
This is something that's taken a lot of self-reflection and was tough to admit. I will actually, tell you that, because for 5 years, I've been helping amazing people just like you guys, right? Including you guys, implement a business operating system inside their business. And we do vision and we do values and systems and strategic planning. And we do all these things. And as I looked back, I mean, how many times I had the conversation that, I'd get the text message, can we talk? And I'm like, uh-oh, and we get on the phone and it's like, hey, we love you. We love working with you. We feel more organized. We feel like we have a clear sense of direction. We feel less chaotic, but we're not seeing a change in our production and our collections. or we're not seeing a change. And then sometimes it's, hey, we got really excited about growing this dental group and growing these support services. Everybody has their eyes up on shiny things. The DSO structure, private equity, the multiple, the next acquisition, the next de novo, the brand, centralization. We get excited about all of these shiny things because you're entrepreneurs, right? And we like these shiny things. And while we're looking up, what happens is we're failing below, meaning we're failing at the practice level. We're failing at good leadership at the practice level. We're failing at training associates. We're failing at revenue generation. And when we outspend by building this DSO and we don't have good, solid revenue driving systems at the practice, I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a room with really smart executives, people who came from business and entered dentistry, or amazing doctors that were sitting in a room and, I'm pushing them, where's your profitability? Where's your numbers? How's your cash flow? When all of the sudden we might have an annual plan, we might have a 10-year plan, we might have scorecards, we might be reading P&Ls, and yet we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, we're not going to make payroll if we don't do something very different, right? I've actually created a framework because I've been through this so many times. It's, hey, when you've overspent and we're struggling, how do we cut back on expenses? How do we actually drive revenue? What does this right sizing framework look like where owners are not taking, they're not paying themselves, or they're having to sell off a location or decrease the team size or make some really drastic decisions? I wish I could say that that's happened with one or two clients. It's happened with many clients. And so it was one of those things where I was like, I felt like I was helping, but was I really helping? And how can I actually dive in and really help so that we create sustainable revenue? I think that this duct taping EBITDA together and selling it for the highest multiple, it has hurt our industry. It's hurt patients' perceptions on how they think about their dentist. We have lots of unhappy people. And so I think that while looking up, we failed at the practice level. And that's what, we're trying to help solve, is how do we succeed at the practice level in good, sustainable revenue driving activities? And when we do that in a way that we take care of people and do what's best for the patient, that actually serves companies, to last for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Everything you're saying is resonating so much. I mean, I know we've always been in alignment, and I'm like, I see now why. Because when you said duct taping EBITDA, that's exactly it. There's no real, how are we going to integrate this? How are we going to make this like one cohesive unit, right? It's a lot of, how do we make as much money as possible as quickly as possible?
Right.
And, not everybody is obviously doing that, but we completely, it resonates very deeply. Also, you had mentioned something earlier about you and Dr. Eric Roman hoping you made impact. And I can tell you, the first event we went to with the two of you there, it impacted us so deeply. We came away from that just saying, oh my God, these are two of the smartest people we've ever met in our lives. Like, I think just that one event paid for 2 years worth of future events.
We took a lot. Yeah, we took a lot out of just being able to ramp up our associates and being able to have a periodic cadence of sitting down with them quarterly. I think at the very minimum, if some people start doing that, we've done it and we've seen the result of that. So those were some incredible takeaways just in those 2 days, man. Like, you guys really did some magic there. It was amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I remember you guys in the audience, and that's when, we sat down and talked about it. And so anyway, that means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah. So Josie, we're going to move into a lightning round.
Okay.
3 quick questions. So the first one, what was your last impulse buy?
Oh, I wish I had something fun on this one, but I will tell you, it was like a digital product, and it was one of those dang Instagram ads that's like, do you hate creating social media content? Here's how to make it easier. Just because right now I'm in the middle of, we've got this new company, we've got this new program. How am I going to get the word out? And I am not a salesperson, but I'm like, okay, am I going to have to actually really learn social media? So it was like a digital product, and I bought it, but of course I haven't opened the email to learn anything about it.
Well, step 1 is you have to buy it, right? What's that joke about? A man keeps asking God, can you help me win the lottery? And God goes, sure, but you have to buy the lotto.
That's right.
Yes.
So the second one, Josie, what are the least likely 3 words someone would use to describe you?
I hope that these are the least three likely words that somebody would use, but I think hateful is one, like, kind of hateful or rude, uncaring, and lazy.
I could definitely see all three of those. Absolutely.
100%.
Or not see those three.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And last one, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my gosh. So I have to tell you, I started sweating when I saw this because I actually hate karaoke. It is like my personal hell would be if you make me sing karaoke because I can't sing. I'm like so bad at it. My husband teases me, my children tease me. Like sometimes like I go to church and we sing in church. Most of the time I'm literally mouthing the words. So I'm not a karaoke fan. I would rather melt into a wall than have to like sing karaoke. And I also, when other people do it, I probably really suffer from like secondhand embarrassment. I'm like, why are they doing this? Why would anybody do this? This is a terrible activity. So I'm just not a karaoke girl. I hope that means I'm not fun. I'm just like not a karaoke girl.
Totally fair. We are not going to force it on you. We're going to take away the karaoke machine right now.
Okay, good. I would love to know like what your go-to karaoke songs are.
Ooh.
Hmm.
That's a good question. I'm going to pick Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Love. Yes. Yes.
Who let the dogs out?
You're cut off.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But
Awesome.
Josie, honestly, we want to sign off with this one quote, which is one of our favorite quotes. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is application. In your case, you have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the application. It's truly been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
And if I could add one more thing, Josie, the first time you shared with us your story, I kind of got goosebumps. And thank you for sharing a little bit of it again. For you to come out of it with so much love and inspiration, I think it's really great to see that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm Dr. Anushka Gaglani.
I'm Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj. Thanks for checking out today's show, and we hope you can join us again next time.
Thanks for watching this episode of Filling You In, where we uncover the insights, trends, and stories shaping the dental industry. If you like this podcast, please share it on your social channels and visit Aereo Dental Group on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Aereo Dental Group. You can also subscribe to the series and check out all of our episodes on this YouTube channel or at aerodental.com/podcast. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and let's keep elevating the dental field together.